Calls for improvement on health declarations for cross-border travel between the city and the mainland continue. Biden asks the U.S. Congress to work with him on rebuilding the American economy in his State of the Union address. And the death toll from devastating quakes in Turkey and Syria keeps rising. Hello and welcome to TVB News. People traveling to and from the mainland are required to make their health declaration online in advance and show a black QR code while passing through immigration. But some travelers have difficulty in accessing the declaration portal. Political parties, community organizations, and even doctors have questioned the effectiveness of the system. Sharon Tang reports.
Getting the health declaration QR code remains a hassle for some who wish to travel to the mainland on the third day of the full resumption of cross-border travel. In Lowu Station, the MTR has deployed extra staff to help travelers make their health declarations, which can be done via the WeChat app or a designated website. Those who failed to get the QR code sought help from officers there. This woman said it would have been a big headache had there been no officers to help her out. Visitors will be able to cross the border once they show a screenshot of their QR code. But there's a catch. The QR code is only good for 24 hours. Besides, travelers will also have to go through the process all over again before returning to Hong Kong. Staff members at the border will help those who have problems using the system. Each WeChat user can fill in the declaration form for up to 5 people. The mainland customs added if elderly travelers do not have a smartphone, they can also print out the screenshot of the QR code. Or they can ask for the declaration form in paper format at the checkpoint and fill in the form there. The Democratic Alliance for the Betterment and Progress of Hong Kong noted it has received at least 30 requests for help per day over the QR code since the borders reopened. It's worth noting that the QR code will be in black as long as travelers declare they don't have COVID symptoms, and it will turn red if they declare otherwise. Infectious disease expert Joseph Zhang said the system relies heavily on whether the traveller inputting the information is an honest person. He doubts if the practice is helping epidemic control after all. Yesterday, the SAR government said it will discuss with mainland authorities to see if the health declaration requirement can be scrapped. Sharon Tang, TVB News.
Cross-border secondary students went back to school in Hong Kong today. Many of them live in Shenzhen and have not attended in-person classes in Hong Kong for 3 years. Some almost could not recognize their classmates or even teachers after all these years. At this school in Fanling, only 80 senior high cross-border students were allowed to join their classmates today to ensure a smooth resumption of classes. About 100 others from lower forms will return to classes next Monday. This morning, Secretary for Education Christine Choi took a first-hand look at Shenzhen Bay Port, where designated channels for cross-border students resumed services. Lawmakers today gave the green light to the first funding request for the construction of the city's light public housing project. The first batch of housing units involves 4 land plots, including one in Kai Tak. The entire project still needs some $15 billion in funding to be approved by the LegCo Finance Committee later on. Officials were grilled by lawmakers today on several issues.
Kai Tak Station in peak hours only has a ridership of 50%, which is more than enough. Do you know that in Kai Tak there will be 4 more estates to be commissioned, totaling 3,500 units, coupled with the Kai Tak Sport area and the 1,700 LPH units. But the Secretary is just saying the addition of 2 minibus routes. I appreciate the Secretary for your being very proactive, but I think that you have missed something in between. You probably forgot liaising with the community, the residents. We have to take forward the project very fast. The ASD did a lot of design, and immediately we take that forward to the electrical to discuss with you, to consult members. So we will continue to consult residents.
In the U.S., during the second State of the Union address of his presidency, Joe Biden exhorted the U.S. Congress to work with him to finish the job of rebuilding the American economy and uniting the nation. Biden also addressed the ongoing war in Ukraine and U.S.-China relations. The speech came with Republicans now in control of the House of Representatives, which could make it hard for the Democrats to push through major bills. Daniel Rao tells us more.
In his 73-minute State of the Union address, U.S. President Joe Biden sought to portray a nation dramatically improved from the one he took charge of 2 years ago, while calling for political unity.
Folks, the story of America is a story of progress and resilience, of always moving forward, of never, ever giving up. It's a story unique among all nations. We're the only country that has emerged from every crisis we've ever entered stronger than we got into it. Fighting for the sake of fighting, power for the sake of power, conflict for the sake of conflict gets us nowhere. That's always been my vision of our country, and I know it's many of yours. To restore the soul of this nation, to rebuild the backbone of America, America's middle class, and to unite the country. We've been sent here to finish the job, in my view.
Still, the backdrop for the State of the Union address was markedly different from the previous 2 years, with the Republicans now in control of the House of Representatives following the November midterm elections. Newly empowered GOP lawmakers in the chamber occasionally shouted criticism of Biden and his administration. Despite the tensions, Biden highlighted record job creation during his tenure, while pointing to areas of bipartisan progress, including on states' vital infrastructure projects and high-tech manufacturing. Biden renewed his call for gun reform and police reform, saying officers who violate the public trust should be held accountable and law enforcement officials should be given the necessary training and be held to higher standards. The US president highlighted the need to ban assault weapons once and for all and to make tackling illegal immigration a bipartisan issue. While addressing Ukraine's ambassador to the US, Oksana Markarova, Biden vowed Washington will stand with Kyiv for as long as it takes in the country's fight against Russia's invasion.
Putin's invasion has been a test for the ages, a test for America, a test for the world. Would we stand for the most basic of principles? Would we stand for sovereignty? Would we stand for the right of people to live free of tyranny? Would we stand for the defense of democracy? 1 year later, we know the answer. Yes, we would, and we did. We did. Because we're going to stand with you as long as it takes.
Biden reaffirmed his stance towards China just days after the Pentagon shot down what it called a Chinese spy balloon over the Atlantic Ocean, following the detection of the craft in U.S. airspace.
I'm committed to work with China where we can advance American interests and benefit the world, but make no mistake about it. As we made clear last week, if China threatens our sovereignty, we will act to protect our country, and we did.
Ahead of a likely presidential re-election bid, Biden and members of his cabinet are now embarking on a two-day 20-state trip to highlight economic progress in his first 2 years in office. Daniel Rao, TVB News.
Officials said U.S. Deputy Secretary of State Wendy Sherman briefed nearly 150 foreign diplomats across 40 embassies about what the White House claims was a Chinese spy balloon that entered U.S. airspace in late January. The U.S. Embassy in Beijing also gathered foreign diplomats to discuss the matter. The balloon was shot down by the U.S. Air Force off the Carolina coast on Saturday. Sherman's briefing was first reported by the Washington Post, which quoted claims from U.S. officials saying the balloon was linked to an extensive military surveillance effort centered on Hainan Island. In Beijing, the foreign diplomats said they were told the solar panels on the balloon meant it needed more power than a weather balloon and that its flight path did not conform with natural wind patterns. China has said it was a weather balloon that had blown off course into U.S. airspace and was an unexpected, isolated incident. It condemned the shooting down of the balloon and accused the United States of overreacting. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has called for the strengthening of the country's military as the nation celebrates the 75th anniversary of the founding of the Korean People's Army. State media reported this and showed photographs of the leader with his wife and daughter attending a banquet of commemoration. Kim's daughter is rarely seen in public and is thought to be about 10 years old. In another part of the city, people visited the statues of North Korea's founder Kim Il-sung and the late leader Kim Jong-il. They carried flowers and bowed their heads. This amid indications that North Korea is preparing to stage a military parade in Pyongyang, where it could showcase its latest hardware of a growing nuclear weapons program. The death toll from massive earthquakes that struck southeastern Turkey and northern Syria on Monday has risen to more than 8,000. An 82-strong Chinese rescue team arrived in Turkey today to join relief efforts. This as some of the injured have started arriving in Istanbul to receive treatment. Tracy Furness has more.
A Chinese rescue team arrived in the southern Turkish city of Adana in the wee hours of Wednesday to join relief efforts in the country. The team, composed of personnel from Beijing Fire and Rescue Corps, the National Earthquake Response Support Service, and the Emergency General Hospital in Beijing, carried with them 4 rescue dogs and 20 tons of rescue equipment and supplies, including equipment for search and detection, communications and medical care. This as some of the injured started to arrive on a cargo plane in Istanbul Wednesday to receive medical treatment. Thinly stretched rescue teams have worked through the night, pulling more bodies from the rubble of thousands of buildings that collapsed during the catastrophic earthquake. But there was some good news. Nearly 2 days after the quake struck, rescuers pulled 3-year-old Arif Khan from beneath the rubble of a collapsed apartment block in the Turkish city of Kahramanmaraş, not far from the epicenter of the quake. And in Syria, residents digging through a collapsed building in a northwest town discovered a crying newborn still connected by the umbilical cord to her deceased mother. The girl was having seizures when she arrived. She was born 3 hours before being rescued, said the doctor treating the baby. She is the only member of her family to survive. The World Health Organization says as many as 23 million people could have been affected in the quake-hit region.
Still ahead, the Hong Kong e-toll system will be put in use in the Changsha control area on February 26th. More protests in France over proposed pension reform. And Microsoft announces the launch of an AI-powered search engine. Welcome back. From the 26th of February, the HKE toll will be implemented in the Changsha control area and will replace all manual toll booths and auto toll lanes. Residents who fail to use the HKE toll will be sent an electronic payment notice and must pay the outstanding toll within 14 business days. Timothy Lee reports.
Drivers in Hong Kong will soon no longer have to queue at toll booths in the Changsha control area, which includes the Eagle Nest, Sha Tin Heights, and Tai Wai tunnels. Beginning at 5 a.m. on the 26th of this month, toll booths and auto toll lanes at the Eagle Nest Tunnel Toll Plaza will cease operations. With the adoption of the HKE toll, tunnel tolls will be collected through a vehicle tag by an automatic detection system. Those who have not registered for the HKE toll vehicle tag prior to crossing the tunnels in the Changsha control area will be sent an electronic payment notice. If the outstanding bill is not paid within 14 business days, an additional charge will be issued. Drivers can pay the outstanding toll either by credit card, by a QR code via the faster payment system, or by cash at a convenience store. Payments can also be made at 4 customer service centers and 4 service outlets. The Transport Department noted that currently it has already issued vehicle tags to more than 340,000 people. To register for the HK eToll vehicle tag, residents can access the Transport Department website and select the HK eToll page. The online registration procedure takes around 10 minutes to complete, and registrants should prepare to provide their vehicle registration documents and contact information. Authorities said the toll service provider will take around 5 days to process vehicle tag applications and reminded residents to allow ample time for such registrations. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
The high-profile political trial involving 47 former pro-democracy lawmakers and activists in Hong Kong continued for a third day. Today, the prosecution expounded further on the defendants' various roles in the 35-plus primary election, which was said to have been sabotaging the government with mutual destruction as its aim. Jackie Lin reports.
Crowds continue to throng the West Kowloon Magistrates Court for the city's biggest national security case. The landmark political hearing involves 47 Democrats accused of conspiracy to commit subversion over the so-called 35-plus primary election. 16 of them denied the charges. Attending the trial were the 10 defendants earlier granted bail, including lawyer and former district councillor Lawrence Lau and former lawmaker Raymond Chan. Other Democrats were taken to the court in prison vans. In his opening submission, Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions Anthony Chow said, in July 2020, the Civic Party introduced a 35-plus primary election on their social media page. The Post described the poll as an opportunity to prove that Hong Kongers would fight against a totalitarian government undeterred by the national security law. Ex-Civic Party member Ted Chang won in the primary poll. Former chairwoman of the Wan Chai District Council, Clarice Yeung, initially lost her bid in the 35-plus election, but submitted her electoral nomination later as a Plan B of the Democrats. Both candidates vowed to veto the government's budget if elected in a bid to push for the implementation of the 5 demands laid out by protesters during the 2019 to 2020 social unrest, including the inquiry into police conduct during the protests. And that goal was shown on Chang's campaign leaflets and Yeung's documents on the 35-plus primary election seized by police, the prosecution said. Another defendant spotlighted today was the then district councillor Michael Pang. The prosecution said Pang quoted lyrics from protest song Glory to Hong Kong in an election debate, saying he would put up physical struggles to paralyze the government if elected into the legislature. Pang's lawyer meanwhile flagged a translation error today. With that, the prosecution will remove the word indiscriminate when describing Pang's bid to veto the government's budget. Jackie Lin, TVB News.
Overseas, there were further protests and strikes in France as the parliament there debates pension reform. President Emmanuel Macron is under pressure as he plans to raise the pensionable age from 62 to 64, but many are against the proposal. David Garrett reports.
Tensions are running high in France. This is Paris on Tuesday evening as riot police move in using tear gas around the Bastille metro station in the centre of the French capital as protesters hurled objects at them. Problems were not confined to Paris. Similar scenes were witnessed here in Nantes, a city in the west of France where trouble also flared. Earlier in the day, things had been calm. French media said the turnout was lower than on 2 previous occasions, although estimates put the numbers across the country at 250,000 in several cities. Many of the demonstrators were young, and there was a carnival atmosphere in most places, with some people playing music. Many shouted the slogan, "Tax billionaires, not grandmas." There was disruption to transport and schools as unions demanded that their members took to the streets. And there were heated scenes in the French Parliament too. Lawmakers have begun debating the pension bill this week. The government wants to raise the minimum retirement age from 62 to 64. Some speakers were heckled and others had to stop to make way for boos or cheers. It is crucial for President Emmanuel Macron because the bill is the flagship legislation of his second term in power. David Garrett, TVB News.
Microsoft is fusing its artificial intelligence chatbot into its search engine, the tech giant said Tuesday. The idea is to revamp its Bing search engine and Edge web browser with AI to try and catch up with Google. The makeover could give Microsoft a lead over other technology companies in capitalizing on the excitement surrounding ChatGPT. The new tool is expected to summarize web pages and synthesize different sources. Chief Executive Satya Nadella told reporters that the new technology is likely to reshape every software category, as he put it. That's the news. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.